In real life, mental health can be something of a touchy topic. We don't like to talk about it much. And as one psychiatrist explains, when we do, we don't talk about it well.
Stigma still is a very big issue. It manifests itself in the ways that we think and talk about the mentally ill, and in the terms, the words that we use to describe them.
For instance?
Wacko, psycho.
People often throw the word bipolar around very often, and in situations that don't relate to bipolar disorder at all. So there's a lot of negative stigma when it comes to discussing mental illness in America.
On the next Dr. Oz, everybody wants to know, am I normal or nuts? Should you be worried?
This behavior is... It's not normal.
Have you gone completely insane? I mean, seriously, have you gone completely insane? Completely insane people go outside, suck on a rock, and bark at the moon.
Perhaps the clearest sign of just how little we want to talk about mental health is that one of the only times it's actively brought up is, as we've seen yet again this week, in the aftermath of a mass shooting, as a means of steering the conversation away from gun control.
This isn't guns, this is about really mental illness.
In many of these shootings, we have people who have mental disturbances.
Do we need to do a better job in mental health? You bet we do.
Because for the record, the vast majority of mentally ill people are non-violent, and the vast majority of gun violence is committed by non-mentally ill people. In fact, mentally ill people are far likelier to be the victims of violence rather than the perpetrators. So the fact we tend to only discuss mental health in a mass shooting context is deeply misleading.
One of the worst school shootings in our nation.
Virginia Tech.
Newtown.
29 dead.
26 who were killed, children.
We are committed to working with state and local leaders to help secure our schools and tackle the difficult issue of mental health.
I think it is so interesting to talk to you right now after this tragedy in Oregon, the whole conversation of mental health as it relates to gun purchase. That's when it seems the national media and people talk about mental health and where it fits in, not the day-to-day struggles that don't come behind the headline of gun violence.
Well, unfortunately, we've had several instances where mental health has been brought to the attention by the media because of these tragedies. I think it's really important to remember that actually people with mental illness are actually more likely to inflict harm on themselves and become the victim rather than be the perpetrators.
Is the mental health push, the talking about this, something that they can get done with something else and at least around the edges try to attack it?
Including talking to legislators on Capitol Hill, but you want to see action or better action in this country, specifically in what way, as it relates to young people particularly?
I think young people, but also adults as well. It actually takes about 10 years for someone to be properly diagnosed and find the right treatment while suffering with bipolar disorder or mental illnesses. What I would love to see is comprehensive mental health reform in our government.
Say that suggesting that this is a mental health issue is a diversion. It's an issue of not enough superior firepower to stop these killers.
4 out of 10 people with mental illness are getting the treatment that they need.
On average, teens touch their phones 80 times a day. No surprise to Meredith Cohen and her friends at the Marin School outside San Francisco.
Is there anything that's happening that you're feeling like you have to do it all the time?
Yeah. Making sure I look at all my Instagram feed and Snapchat stories. Yeah. Also, being up to date, like on Netflix and YouTube.
Yeah, that's a thing. We had these declines in self-esteem.
Psychologist Jean Twenge argues this generation is on the verge of the most severe mental health crisis for young people in decades.
Teens are saying that they're more anxious than they were just 5 to 10 years ago.
What happened?
They started spending more time online and they started spending less time with their friends in person.
Meredith was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder at 6.
I was a freshman in high school when I was first diagnosed with anxiety. A couple months later, I was diagnosed with depression, and then in spring of 2018, I was diagnosed with PTSD. A trifecta, you could call it, I guess. People assume that since you can't see it, it's not really there. as if pain doesn't exist unless you're bleeding or in a cast. It feels like I'm drowning. Like time is running too fast and I'm playing catch up. I can't breathe. I don't realize I'm grinding my teeth or scratching my arm or bouncing my leg uncontrollably as I bite my lip like the solution to my problems is in between my gums and my teeth. My heart beats out of my chest and drops to my stomach. The blood pulsing through my veins is like hot lava. I'm running out of breath like a fish out of water. Everything is so loud, but I can't hear a thing. I forget to speak with anything behind my voice except for my insecurities. Each day brings a new battle. Some small, others not so small. My brain is in a constant struggle between reality and paranoia. No one understands that in this moment of darkness and vulnerability, that I see and feel all of my fears at once. I cannot hide from them because they find me. They search for me. Their hold on me is too strong to break. Through trial and error of coping mechanisms, I have found my escape. I found my escape from the daily battle by putting down my phone and just breathing in the moment.